Is starting a successful Pokemon card business with a small budget still possible in 2025? Or will all who dare just watch their efforts go up in flames?
2025 is probably going to be the worst selling year for Pokemon in most TCG shops, both offline and online.
Really, all there is to buy right now is a bunch of collection boxes or build-in battle boxes or all this junk that nobody wants, that there's very little, if any, margin to be had on them.
This is not easy. This is not easy. This is very, very difficult to do. I have been there before. I can tell you I was working full-time, 60, 70 hours a week, and doing this on the side, trying to grow something.
Hey there, my name is Harley. I'm a huge Pokemon fan, and I started collecting the TCG back when Scarlet and Violet Base was first released. I've been wanting to start a Pokemon card business for a while now, but I've been putting it off. So I finally decided that 2025 is the year that I'm gonna start. This won't be the first business I've ever owned, but my prior business was only moderately successful, and I ended up closing it shortly after my daughter was born. With all that said, today I'm gonna walk you through how I'm getting started and answer one very important question. Can I start my business for $1,000 or less? I'll show you what I spent money on to get things up and running, how I plan to make money in the beginning, and how I plan to grow and scale the business in the future. Also, if I can't beat the $1,000 challenge, I'll be giving away this base set 2 Gyarados from my personal collection. I'll tell you how to enter to win later in this video, but it'll only be up for grabs if I fail the challenge. So without further ado, let's get into it. I don't plan on following the traditional wisdom of spending most of my startup cash on inventory. In fact, I plan to spend $0 on inventory. And I made this decision for a couple of reasons. First of all, the market right now is crazy. I don't want to be just another person buying cards at retail price and then flipping them at crazy inflated prices online just to try to make a quick buck. And the second reason I made this decision is because I need to start small. I don't have a ton of money to throw around to start this business. This means that my only option to start is to sacrifice my personal collection. So I went through my top loaders and binders to look for some of the most valuable cards I have that I'd be willing to let go. And then I turned to resources like Danny Phantom and TCG Player to figure out which bulk cards I should keep an eye out for. Now, these bulk cards won't be worth a lot of money, but it will add up after a while. And now, with all of that sorted, I was ready to make my first business purchase. It's currently around 3 in the morning on January 11th. The rest of my household is nice and sound asleep, but here I am with you beautiful people. Alright, now there's a ton of misinformation and mixed opinions floating all around the internet about my first purchase, and admittedly, I could have done without it. But it does make me feel more secure. Now you may be wondering what in the heck I'm even talking about. The very first business purchase I made was an LLC. LLC stands for Limited Liability Company, and it's basically a business structure that separates your business from you personally. That way, if your business were to ever get sued, your house, your car, and your favorite waifu body pillow would all be protected. Like I already said, having an LLC when you very first start out isn't absolutely necessary. And in fact, if you're just a single member LLC, you get many of the same tax benefits as a regular sole proprietor. But again, I like the legal protection an LLC offers. I used an online service called Busy to form my LLC. Not a sponsor. They walk you through the process step by step and file for your LLC on your behalf. From what I've seen, using an online service is a lot cheaper than going through a traditional business attorney, but you do take a lot more risk. If you mess something up, it could come back to bite you. So with that said, I can't fully recommend using an online service because you never know what could happen. And when I went through the process on Busy, I opted to buy the formation package that came with an EIN. An EIN, or Employer Identification Number, is basically just your business's social security number. EINs aren't always necessary for LLCs. It largely depends on what state you're in and how your LLC is actually structured. Also, certain banks may require one for your LLC if you want to open a business bank account or if you want to open a business credit card. I ended up paying a total of $348 to form my LLC. Luckily, this is a tax-deductible expense though. Obvious disclaimer, I'm not a CPA nor an attorney. None of what I say is tax or legal advice. Consult your professional. It took several business days to process the formation of my LLC and for me to get my EIN. But now that I have them, I applied for a business bank account and a business credit card. My plan is to put the rest of my purchases on my business credit card since it's a 0% interest rate for 12 months. Obviously, I'm not going to spend any more on my credit card than I have sitting around in cash. I don't want to go into the deep end on business debt and not be able to get out of it. Another disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. We are just getting started with spending money though. There are plenty more purchases to go over. You probably don't want the cards you buy or sell to arrive absolutely destroyed, right? So in order to prevent this, I just ordered the proper shipping supplies. That way, every order will arrive safe and sound. I plan to sell the bulk and singles that I spoke about earlier in this video on TCG Player and eBay, but I'll get into those details a little later on. For now, I'll just talk about the shipping supplies I bought in order to sell on those platforms. Since I won't be selling sealed product, I don't need a ton of expensive shipping supplies, but I can't exactly send things via carrier pigeon either, so I will need some stuff. And here are the supplies I landed on. I bought penny sleeves, team bags, envelopes, bubble mailers, thermal labels, and sticker labels, all from Amazon for a total of $255.82. There are usually two schools of thought regarding shipping supplies when you first start out. On one hand, you have the buy as you need it method, which is where you just buy a little bit as you go, and as you use it, you buy more. And then on the other hand, you have the buy in bulk method. Now this method is much more expensive up front, but it saves you money in the long run. I decided to buy in bulk because I would like to keep my shipping supplies as cheap as possible per item. Now, outside of Amazon, I also bought TC Guardian shipping protectors for $138.60. If you haven't heard of TC Guardian before, they're similar to shipping shields. They're just another competitor of theirs. They claim to be higher quality and they're also a little bit cheaper, so I figured I'd try them out. Also not a sponsor. But before I can ship anything, there is one more purchase I need to make. Alright, I just made my last business purchase earlier today, and it's just as important, if not more important, than the very first purchase. I don't know about you, but I like my privacy. I don't want my personal address plastered all over everything that I send to customers. So I went to UPS and got one of their business mailboxes. My location offers mailboxes for 3, 6, and 12-month terms, and I opted for the 12 months. Now with this purchase under my belt, I can use this mailbox as the return address on everything I send out. Smart, right? In my opinion, this extra layer of protection was more than worth the $300. Oh, I also had one more business purchase that I wasn't expecting to have to make, and that was a state vendor's license to collect sales tax. That ran me $25. The cost to start my business after forming the LLC, buying shipping supplies, getting a vendor's license, and getting a business mailbox comes out to a total of $1,067.42, which includes taxes. So it turns out that I technically failed the challenge because I went over $1,000. Not like I had a spreadsheet to track everything before I made the purchases. Definitely didn't do that. So now that base set 2 Gyarados is up for grabs. So make sure you stick around till the end of the video where I tell you how to enter to win. Now that I've told you how much money I spent to start the business, I'm going to tell you how I plan to make money. Luckily for me, I rejoined the hobby in 2023, well before the recent run-up, and after ripping a ton of packs of Pokemon Go, I realized that I hadn't made quite as much progress towards my master set as I would have liked. So I looked into buying individual cards or singles, and I found out that eBay and TCG Player are pretty much the places to go for that sort of thing. But what I didn't know at the time is that eBay and TCG Player are two of the biggest platforms for Pokemon. In 2023, eBay stated that users searched for Pokemon items more than 400 times per minute globally on average. And over on TCG Player, Pokémon was the second most selling trading card game during their Cyber Weekend sales on both 2023 and 2024. So with those stats in mind, it's easy to see why I chose to use those two platforms to start my business. Even though those platforms charge fees, the number of customers they bring to brand new sellers is kind of insane. But because of the fees, it's not exactly my long-term goal, but I'll get into that later. For now, let's dive into my current plans. I plan to sell my bulk and low to mid-range hits on TCG Player, and I plan to sell my more expensive cards and my graded cards on eBay. And for all the hits, I'm going to have to cannibalize my collection, because just selling nothing but bulk would take forever to get things rolling. Also, selling graded cards on eBay will definitely be a new thing because I've never graded anything before. So it's something that I'm going to dive into, and I'll probably end up sending my 151 SIR Charizard off to PSA. And once I've worked through the bulk and the more expensive cards of my collection that I'm willing to let go of, it'll be time to move on to bigger and better things. Brian from Pokémon, who's featured at the beginning of this video, is a Pokemon card selling machine. He does millions of dollars every year. But how does he do it? Well, he actually tells you exactly how he does it on his own YouTube channel. But don't go there just yet. You obviously want to finish this video. Anyways, I've been consuming his content like crazy. I believe that all the free information here on YouTube, the prior experience I had with my other business, and my experience in graphic design in general all give me a pretty good chance to make a decent swing at things. Which brings us to the question, what are my plans to scale? Like I mentioned earlier, TCG Player and eBay aren't the only ways that I plan to make money in the long term. I'm going to take a page out of Brian's book and import Japanese cards to sell on my own website. And I'll probably also sell some on platforms like Drip and whatnot after I build up capital for making sales on TCG Player and eBay. But before I can scale my business and sell things on my own website, I first have to make a website. Luckily, I have built and coded websites from scratch before, but for this, I'll probably just use Wix. Their drag and drop editor makes things very easy, and it'll get me up and running quick. Plus, they handle all the information security stuff, which can get pretty complicated. And if you're wondering why I didn't include the cost of starting my website in this video, it's because I haven't done it yet. And along with a professional looking website, I need a professional looking email, so I plan to also get a Google G Suite email account through Wix as well. That way my email will actually be tied to my domain rather than just at Gmail or at Yahoo or whatever, and it'll look much more official. Now that I've started my business, it's time to grow it and make some money. And if you'd like to follow me on my journey, be sure to watch this playlist up here to follow me along the way. And if you've made it this far in the video, you're awesome. So make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below to enter to win that base set 2 Gyarados. I'll be choosing a winner from the comments. Now I'll catch you guys next time.